Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Jackson Show. I'm your host, Jackson Solomon, and happy Friday, especially on this edition of the Jackson Show. So today, I'm going to go over some weekend updates, and then we're going to predict 12 of the best games for this weekend's matchups. So, as usual, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe button, turn the notifications on, and we're just going to hop straight into it. So, we start with some news. I usually start in the college football world before we get to the NFL, so we're going to do that here today. We're going to start in the college world with Ole Miss continuing to start their quarterback Trinidad Chambliss versus LSU. I'm not sure if this affects your pick for the game. That's fantastic, but the guy looked great this past Saturday, so hopefully he can continue to look like that versus LSU. Next, Florida's defensive back, Dijon Johnson, is out for the year. This is crucial, especially because I was one of those people that talked about Florida's defense so highly in the offseason. Now this guy's injured, and it hurts their team 100%. Especially that defensive side of the ball. And man, Florida and Clemson both sitting at the bottom of their divisions with 3 losses. Teams that I had as favorites to potentially go to their conference championship games and maybe win the national title. It's just disappointing for me to watch both these teams' seasons tremble like that. Also, in college news, Alabama coming back for this game. Tim Keenan III, he's a defensive tackle for the Alabama D-line. And Jam Miller, who we talked about very early on in the season as he's going to be out for an extended period of time. He's going to come back for the Georgia game. Well, guess what? Georgia game's this week. And Jam Miller is back for that game. So that's going to be huge for Alabama. I was talking to a couple of people about it the other day. I said, hey, look, Alabama's going to have a ground game to base their entire offense off of this week. Their leading rusher only had, I would say, about 180 rushing yards, something close to that. And it's like Justice Haynes had that on Saturday. So did Jordan Marshall. It's crazy to me. So I think that's crazy, the fact that you would have that's pretty wild. To not even have a rusher get to 200 yards. It's pretty wild. So we move to Sunday in the NFL. I'm sure, as most of you know, Jackson Dart is going to be the starting quarterback this Sunday, and I feel like this is just I don't like the call, if I'm being 100 with you. To me, it feels like it feels like a lot of this wasn't Russ's fault. Russ shouldn't be responsible for a lot of the issues you had defensively in your secondary. He shouldn't be responsible for the offensive line not doing their job. And so the only person that's I'll give flowers to 2 people on the Giants. Malik Neighbors and Cam Skattebo, who just made a name for himself this past Sunday by just being an absolute dog. And people are like, well, he's going to be great for the Giants, but nowhere else. No, he's going to be like a Tyson Bagent that just balls out when the team needs him the most. And then he gets a contract when he's like, okay, but don't you already have a running back? Cam Skattebo is going to be fantastic. And we were talking about this guy he would go undrafted, late 5th, 6th, 7th round guy. Now he's proven he's guys, I should have been 2nd, 3rd rounder. Maybe even a 1st rounder if you really think about it. But Jackson Dart starting, and for the season's kind of crazy too, because it's kind of like Russ only played 3 games. What happened in those 3 games was not Russ's fault. I feel like things will get better down the stretch for Russ. You play the Cowboys again at home. I guess the Eagles and Commanders aren't great, but the Commanders have a terrible defense. So all I'm saying is, this move just seems like or like it doesn't make sense to me, but I guess it's not supposed to. Eagles linebacker Nolan Smith is going to be out until November. It was announced this week that Nolan Smith would be out until after the Eagles bye in November, which is going to affect the defense a lot. I still think Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, that's a massive tandem. Zadarius Smith played really well a couple of weeks ago versus the Chiefs, but now the question is, who steps up when you need that other outside linebacker? Who's going to be that guy? And right now, I just don't know if it is. I just don't know who that is going to be. Also, Jaden Daniels is questionable for Sunday's game. He says that he feels good, but the team doctor will determine whether he plays Saturday or not. That's big news for Commanders fans. He did pretty well without him last week, but the Falcons' defense is much better. Although they didn't really show it last week. Majority of that wasn't really their fault, but it doesn't matter. Falcons' defense much better than the Raiders, so it's going to be a tougher challenge, especially when you don't have your quarterback. Just ask the 49ers. We saw what Arizona's defense did last night, and so now we know. Right? Now we know. So we're going to just get into the predictions for the weekend. I know you guys like the shorter episodes, so I'm not going to take a ton of time, but I am going to break down some of these matchups. Some of them I just don't have an explanation for, but these are the 6 best games on my piece of paper right here. We're going to start with college. It's Friday night, tonight. Number 24 TCU travels to Arizona State. Arizona State, the favorite, by 4 points. Right? I got a couple of people's predictions on this game, and I'm excited to watch this game for sure. But I want to take TCU. I just think that they're dogs, but you know what? I'm going to take TCU. Everybody else taking Arizona State, I'm taking TCU. Why am I taking TCU? Because Arizona State, their defense really struggled. We saw how good Mississippi State's offense was, but man, the question right now I'm having is, what is Arizona State's defense? Friday night, tonight, we're going to figure that out. We're going to find out what Arizona State's defense is, and in my opinion, they're not good enough to stop TCU's offense. Saturday, big noon kick. USC travels to Illinois. Illinois catching 7 versus the Trojans. I know a lot of people might not agree with me, but I'm taking Illinois. Yeah. I think that, here's the thing. You have one bad game. That's true. But USC, there's been all talk about their defense. You gave up quite a bunch to Michigan State. If you can't get to Luke Altmaier, if USC can get to Luke Altmaier like Indiana did, by all means, you win the game. That's what it's going to come down to. By all means, you win the game. If not, Illinois is going to put, I would say, a good 40, 50 points up on the board. I'm obviously just, this is wild talk right now. But the point I'm trying to make is USC's defense, this is a prove-it game, right? All bark, no bite, no. You got to prove it right here, right now. Let's see what you are actually made of. If you're the top dog that you think you are. And I don't think they are. LSU, Ole Miss. We mentioned Ole Miss is going to keep their starting quarterback. They're favored by 2 in Oxford, which, it makes sense because they're in Oxford. But what doesn't make sense to me is LSU is an underdog because they've proven themselves time and time again to be the best team in the SEC. So I'm going to take LSU. As I'm going through this, I realized I did not mention the other people, my guest pickers, or their predictions. So I'm going to start out with a special shout out to my boy, Marcus Trey Montana. He gave me his predictions. He had Arizona State beating TCU, Illinois beating USC. I also got my boy Ethan to give me his predictions on this week's games. He did all 6. So, and I give my predictions. He's going to be giving his. So, he had Arizona State, USC winning, and LSU. So, we're going to find out about those games. Auburn taking on A&M on the road. On the road. Or this is going to be in College Station. Home game for the Aggies. Texas A&M is home. I'm gonna take Texas A&M. The defense cannot be any worse than it was a couple of weeks ago, right? I mean, you can't be. Notre Dame's offense is really good, right? So I get that. You can't be worse than you were against Notre Dame. You have to be better. There was no pass rush in that game. So I feel like Texas A&M, their defense is going to be better, and their offense is also going to be really good. And Auburn, what are we going to see from Auburn? Can they actually put points on the board this week? Because they were winning in the Oklahoma game. It's just John Mateer took off, and they weren't able to stop him. So it's really a coin toss right now, right? That's what I think, in my opinion. My boy Esau is also taking A&M. All right, game of the week. This is College Game Day, 7:30 on NBC. I want this game to be on CBS. I want this so bad to be Gary and Brad, 7:30 whiteout prime time rematch of the Big Ten Championship game, but no, it goes to Noah Eagle and Todd Blackledge. I'm not going to say too much. You want to know my thoughts on CBS or NBC's broadcast? Come talk to me after the show. Oregon is actually the dog in this game. Penn State favored by 4 at home. A whiteout game. I would hope this is a whiteout game. But, yeah, I'm taking Penn State. I'm taking the Nittany Lions over... this is going to be a prove-it game for Penn State. Dante Moore, and this is just how I feel. This is my opinion. Right? This is how I feel. I don't know what he is. Look, the defense looks unstoppable, but this is a road environment. This is basically West Coast all the way to the East Coast. Right? And this is going to be a prove-it game for Penn State, revenge game. And this is one where they're going to be talking about this game at Penn State for a while. This is going to be basically the road to the Big Ten title game right here. I'm taking Penn State. Marcus is taking Oregon. Evens with me. He's taking the Nittany Lions at home. And then the last game, I don't know why more people aren't talking about this. Bama, Georgia. I mean, this could arguably be game of the week. I had to give it to Penn State, Oregon, top 10 matchup. 2 really good teams. So, Georgia's also a favorite by 4. 4-point favorite at home versus Alabama. Okay, hear me out. Right? I've got a couple of things. It's Alabama. Like, Kalen DeBoer is undefeated versus ranked teams as Alabama's head coach. Undefeated, right? Jam Miller's coming back, right? And Georgia's defense did not look very good. Granted, Tennessee and Alabama played 2 completely different styles of offense, but Georgia's defense didn't look very good versus Tennessee. I mean, how can you not pick Alabama? How can you not pick Saban? Not Saban anymore, but how can you not pick Alabama? This is literally has Alabama upset written all over it. He's coming back. I'm with Kalen DeBoer and the Crimson Tide. They are going to go into the dog pound and beat them pretty bad too. Alabama. This is Marcus is taking Alabama. My boy Esau, he is going the other way. He's taking the Dogs and Georgia. Sunday in the NFL. Really hard to find 6 good games on Sunday, but we did it. We're going to start with a Dublin game. Vikings Steelers. Not much to like here. Vikings are favored by 3, but they have a backup quarterback. Granted, their defense is really good. And the Steelers haven't faced like a really good defense yet. They faced like, okay, you faced, you faced a defense. You haven't faced a good defense. So, like, I would get it if they played like tougher competition, but you played the Seahawks, man. Seahawks defense isn't that good in my opinion, but doesn't matter what I think. I guess it kind of does because I'm making my prediction. I guess the Seahawks defense is irrelevant in this game, but first real test, can Rodgers and the boys show up and do their thing? Yes, they do. I'm going to take... Actually, you know what? I'm going to switch up. I'm going Vikings. Dublin. I'm going Vikings, man. I can't take the... I can't take the Steelers. I'm going to have to take the Vikings. Chargers taking on the Giants, right? Jackson Dart's making his first start. Chargers are touchdown favorites. You already know what it is. I think Quentin Johnson has 2 touchdowns in New York. I think Justin Herbert... I'm not going to say we disrespect the Giants. It's going to be very difficult. We're not going to run the score up. It's not going to be a blowout. It's going to be somewhat close. It might be 35-10. But it took the Chargers a lot to get those last 2 touchdowns. That's the kind of game it's going to be. Not Packers-Browns, where the Chargers get upset, but it's going to be hard for the Giants to win. Or for the Chargers to come out with the win. The Giants are going to play them close, I think. Closer than a touchdown. Ethan is taking the Steelers and the Chargers. So this is game of the week. Eagles versus Bucks. Let me give you a little stat right here. Right? There's no Mike Evans in this game, right? Eagles lost to the Bucks last year in Tampa, right? But it doesn't matter because the Bucks are undefeated with Brady in the booth. I'm taking Tampa Bay. Marcus is taking the Eagles. Ethan is taking the Chiefs. Okay. Now Ravens Chiefs. This is really an interesting game. This is like Bama Georgia, where it's like, okay, this could have been game of the week with both the teams. One of the teams is better than the other team. This is going to be good. This is a really game to watch right now, or on Sunday. I know a lot of people aren't going to watch the game because it's who's going to watch 1-2 teams play in a national TV window on a Sunday? It's there's, you have a good point, but it's kind of what other choice do you have? There's no other football on TV. Unless you get unless you live on the West Coast or something like that. But in that case, Ravens are favored by a field goal, and this is tough because they're the Ravens should realistically be 3-0, or at least 2-1. I'll say. I'm going to take the Ravens. Here's the thing. I picked Kansas City for the first 3 weeks of the season, and they lost their first 2 games. So, just because they won this week, I'm not going to pick Kansas City. So that all of the fans out there don't, hate me eventually. Marcus is taking the Ravens. Ethan is going to take the Chiefs. Packers Cowboys. Packers are touchdown favorites. Micah Parsons' revenge game. It's very obvious what's going to happen. It's very obvious. Right? Cowboys are going to... Okay, there's no way to say it. I was going to say Cowboys are going to keep it close. It's going to be competitive, but it's the Packers' defense is too good. And it's when I talk about, okay, this team's defense is bad, I'm talking about the strengths of the defense. The strength of the Packers' defense is actually, their defensive line is their strength, And the Cowboys' offense is probably their running game. You know, they could throw the ball without CeeDee Lamb. The Packers... Oh, shoot. Packers got torched last week by Quinshon Judkins, but you look the week before, Lions couldn't run the ball on them. Week before that, didn't really see Bill Koski Merritt light up the scoreboard. So it's kind of like, yeah. You know what I mean? I'm going to take the Packers because there's no way in my mind this game is close. The Cowboys secondary is so bad, and I just have this feeling that Jordan Love can light them up. Quickly. He can just light them up, and 21-0 in the first quarter. Granted, the Cowboys will score touchdowns. They will put points on the board. But it's going to be rough. And Jerry's talking about how good his running game looked. It won't matter, dude. It's tough to win the game running the ball because when you run it, you chew a lot of clock. So, there's a flaw there. Your ground game looks good. Yeah, but your passing game doesn't really look the best. And they're going to be without CeeDee Lamb for 4 weeks, so I can easily see them dropping multiple games. Yeah, I think this is a Packers win. I'm sorry for my guy Jamin, who is a Cowboys fan and also gave me picks last week. And then last but not least, the most entertaining Monday Night Football game, and also one of the games that I wanted to talk about the most, Bengals-Broncos. Bengals favored by a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, which, just incredibly disrespectful. Bengals will play them close, which is actually the first matchup I think I could say since, Chargers-Giants, I think we all know I'm lying on that a little bit. This one will actually be close. I'm going to take the Broncos. The reason why is because, like I said, strength of the defense is what I'm going to talk about when I say, oh, their defense is bad or, oh, their defense is good. The strength, right? The strength of the Broncos' defense, right? What they're really good at is, they're good as a unit altogether. The Chargers really had to scrap and claw to win that game because there was a point in the game where the Chargers didn't score and the Broncos got 20 unanswered. Something like that. Where they were able to get 17 unanswered points in that game. And the reason why is because their defense is that good. I get it, they're missing Drake Greenlaw, but their pass rush is insane. Right? And Jake Browning really struggled last week against a good defense. So I think the Broncos win, but it'll be closer than it was last week versus the Vikings. The problem I have with picking the Broncos, because they're favored by 8 points, which is why if you're playing the spread, this would be the game that I recommend you don't pick, it's got to be because the Broncos offense, things started to click last week, but that was only because their defense gave them so many opportunities. So, realistically, the Broncos offense, second half team. They can't get things clicking like in the first half. Things don't really work out in the first half. So, Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, J.K. Dobbins, R.J. Harvey, all these guys that I'm mentioning really get hot in the second half, not the first half. That's the only thing I have. If you can get off to a hot start, you'll beat them by 8 points. If you don't, you're not going to beat them by 8 points. I feel like that's pretty straightforward. I'm taking the Broncos. My Ethan is also taking the Broncos. I'm actually doing this new thing where we also have upset of the week on our weekend recap. I have underdog of the week on the weekend preview, and this week's underdog of the week is Washington. The reason why they score the most points in college football, so it's not like they're going to get blown out, right? But 10, Ohio State, Washington is the game I'm talking about, right? 10 is what Ohio State is favored by. Yeah, there's a good chance that they can get there. I mean, Washington's defense didn't look that good in the first 3 weeks of the season. So they can definitely get there. My question is, the problem I have with the 10 is it's going to be like a touchdown game until the fourth quarter. And even then, it might become a 3-point game. Washington has the chance to upset Ohio State, and I think that I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm not trolling. I really think that Washington could beat Ohio State. Right? So, this could be a 45-48 game either way. And then the winner of Penn State, Oregon would be the number 1 team in the country. That'd actually be gas. No way the U... In my mind, no way the U goes to Florida State, the number 1 team in the country. But they probably will because that defense is so good. So, but anyway, Ohio State. Ohio State, I'm taking Washington to potentially upset the Buckeyes. And then the winner of Penn State, Oregon becomes the number 1 team in the country just because Miami's played weak competition. So, that defense is really good, though. All right, those are my weekend predictions. Thank you so much for listening. I always enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to tune into the next episode of The Jackson Show. And as always, bring a friend.